to, well, we're not sure.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are pleased to bring our first very special guest, the fearsome leader, the captain and commander, Dr. Jason Berg.
Welcome.
Thank you. Excited.
We almost locked down a name here, but
by the time this gets released, we will have a name.
We should have a name by the time we release this episode.
Audio-only podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, welcome, Jason. We know you're a busy guy, so we're happy to have you in here, and we're glad that you made the time for us, because we know you got a lot more important things to do upstairs.
I think this is great. Excited about this too.
Yes, we're going to capture the rare opportunity where you have a minute to actually sit with us. So.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like
we've been trying for weeks.
were you kind of excited to do this because you're like, oh, I get like an hour to just kind of chill for a little bit and just hang out?
Yeah, it's a little stressful this week. Just was trying to do all the intern applicant interviews
for next year. You mean
for next year?
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy because they still have the ones that are here have what are they 6 months in at this point?
Yeah, but they pick. We have to rank them. They have to rank by the end of this month, I think, or the first week in February, and then we have to rank by the second or third week in February.
Wow.
So,
anyway,
what do you mean? A lot of interns.
So by ranking, is that like who gets to go where? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's called a match system. So you pick your top, 10 people you want, and you put them in an order, and they put, which places they want to go in an order, and then some computer program figures out how that actually happens.
Cool. Well, thanks again. I guess we'll start from, the top with you. We don't want to start in the middle.
In medias res.
Yeah. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about where your story kind of began, not only with Guardian, just like in becoming a doctor, and then we'll go from there.
I'll start really young. So anybody who knows me or gets to know me thinks I'm this extrovert. And I was super beyond introverted as a little kid.
He was one of us.
Yeah.
Beyond introverted. Like, my favorite story is I went to kindergarten for like 3 months. The third month, they called my mom and asked my mom if I could speak. So I hadn't said one word. So I didn't have friends. I was shy. So I loved animals because they don't care. They, it was
more of a connection.
Connection thing, and all these other, extraneous reasons. But so I used to catch any animal I could, because we didn't have any, really financially weren't well off by any means. So all my pets came from me actually catching them
outside.
Oh, I caught possums. I kept them as pets. I caught rabbits.
Anything.
Felt like it. Yeah, I would have loved to be, because back then there was this TV show called Grizzly Adams, and I wanted to be Grizzly Adams.
Funny story. That's where I got my name.
What? Really?
Yeah. One of the natives on.
Was in the coma?
Yeah.
No way.
That is awesome.
Yeah, if you ask my mom, then she'll tell you.
I'll have to go back and watch again. So anyway, I totally want to be a frontiersman. I wanted to live in my log cabin and just be, because you didn't have to interact with people then. It was perfect for an introvert. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So my mom claims that even when I was like 3 years old, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And actually, I don't remember ever thinking about not being a veterinarian. Like, there's no other options. So anyway, lo and behold, I was born in Philadelphia, but I moved to Texas when I was about 12 years old. Went to undergrad and vet school at Texas A&M. So I was always I don't believe when people tell you, oh, this is hard or that's hard. I just came up with the internal motivation and stuff of, if it's hard, okay, but it's never impossible.
It's something to overcome.
Right. It's just like, okay, that's difficult, but I didn't even think it would be difficult. It's just, these are the steps you did. Like, I went to vet school there, and I worked at the vet school through undergrad, because that seemed like the way to be able to get a better chance to get into vet school. And either it helped me or it didn't help me, but it got me in. Then I came to New York in the mid-'90s to do my internship and then residencies at the Animal Medical Center in Manhattan. And I got double boarded there in internal medicine and neurology. And then I always like to tell the new students that we get through here that in the mid-'90s, in the region, Lower Connecticut, Westchester, Upper New Jersey, all the boroughs, Long Island, there was maybe one specialty hospital at the time. Now, currently, there's got to be 20, 25 of them.
Wow.
So the landscape's changed a lot in almost 30 years.
I was gonna say, even that seems like a low number. Like I thought, like I
Well, I'm
wouldn't
just
have guessed
keeping it
that low.
local,
Yeah.
like
Right,
to
just in
that.
our
Yeah, yeah.
kinda area.
Like, for example, I'll skip ahead. So I was about 110. There's about 500 or 600 neurologists now in the country. And when I got board certified in 2000, I was the 5th in New York State.
Wow.
Currently, there's got to be 30 of us or 40 of us in New York State.
Just
and
New York State.
And we count the residents, there's probably like 50 or 60 neurologists in New York State.
Yeah.
So it really has changed dramatically. So
Wow, so that we have 4 is a pretty
That's crazy.
a
Yeah.
sizable percentage.
no, like we would have literally had more. There was one in Cornell at the vet school. There was one upstate near Rochester. There's one on Long Island. It was Dr. Joseph, my mentor, with the only 4.
This Dr. Joseph?
Yeah.
Was your mentor?
Yeah.
Wow. I had
Worked
no
with
idea.
Rick. Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
come full
goodness.
circle.
Rick, yeah. We've been, mentor, mentee, business partners for almost 30 years, 29 years coming on this
Wow.
year. It's been a long time.
That's incredible. Wow.
It doesn't seem like that. So our plan at the time was there was no specialty hospitals north of Manhattan in Westchester County. We were going to start the first independent specialty hospital. So we went and started a specialty hospital in a general practice at the time. So we just sort of worked out of there. We were the first ones to do on-site MRI in New York State. Now, so many MRIs around, and it happens all the time, and it's just crazy because we just went to a local human MRI place in the Bronx. We said, hey, can we come at night and do MRIs? And they said, sure. So we used to pile up the car, drive from Yonkers down to the Bronx with people's pets, and do MRIs.
Just
at
making
night.
it happen. Yeah.
Just made it happen.
Wow.
And probably 6 months in, it was funny. I remember trying to go get a loan for the MRI trailer because they had them in the mobiles at the time. And all the banks looked at us like we were crazy. No one's going to spend, at the time, $1,000 to do an MRI on their dog. And we're like, no, people will do it. We see them every day. We take them down to the Bronx.
Wow.
So we finally got our first mobile MRI. What I mean by mobile, they're in big trailers. They still use them in remote areas of the country, too.
Makes sense.
Well, which still blows me away. Like, I'm always a little ADHD for everybody to know. That's self-diagnosed. So I'm following the TikTok trends these days. I'm just self-diagnosing myself.
Don't come at us in the comments.
Yeah. I can be inappropriate. No, so two funny stories about MRI. So I spent a month at Washington State in like 1999 at the vet school there. And it was in Pullman, Washington. So if everybody don't know where Pullman, Washington is, it's in eastern Washington State. It's in fields. There's nothing there. So they had a very famous veterinary neurologist there at the time, Rod Bagley. And Rod had gotten an MRI machine. So the bottom line was the human hospitals in Pullman did not have an MRI machine. So 2 days a week, people would come to the veterinary school and get their MRIs.
Oh.
That's
They were
amazing.
walking around there in gowns getting their MRI. It was the craziest
Dogs
thing.
and humans in the same hospital.
So fast forward 26 years, 25 years now, I just read that same thing's happening on Prince Edward Island, PEI, in Canada, where they have an MRI at the vet school now, and humans are using it too.
Wow.
And it just blew me away in this day and age. I get it, back then MRIs were, probably started even in human medicine, maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, so it was still novelty. So we got the first mobile MRI machine, and we moved that to 2 other specialty hospitals. So fast forward, we were planning our own specialty hospital, and we had met a private investor because I always wanted to be private and maybe on a lot of these podcasts, you may hear me rant and rave about private veterinary medicine, which I think is better for all of you out there. So look for private veterinarians.
No bias at all.
No bias at all.
An independent podcast.
I really do think it's impacted veterinary medicine. Obviously, some good ways, but mostly bad ways. So we wanted to be private.
We'll get into that.
So we got an investor, a very generous, nice guy who bought a piece of property, and we used the collateral from the property to get a business loan. Just, we didn't know anything about business at the time. I mean, we knew some things about business, and you can always continue to learn. But
it's always the way it starts when you start a business.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, I know how to do the thing. I have to learn how to do the business.
Yeah, and all through vet school, I did take a lot of business courses too, because I knew I always wanted to, control is an interesting term. And control for me is to be able to steer the ship, not control anybody. Like,
Right.
We want to help these people, and we don't have to go ask anybody. Like, just to basically have the freedom to not be constrained by the almighty dollar. And what I mean by that's one of my pet peeves on corporate is, although everybody's in veterinary medicine, hopefully, to help animals and help people, and it's a complex. I'm way off on.
That's
left
okay.
field
We'll
right
come
now.
back around. Yeah.
So anyway, we're all in it to help animals, and when corporate medicine sort of came in, it was 100%, no matter what they say about the bottom line.
Yeah.
So anyway, I always wanted to be independent, be able to do my own thing. So I'll fast forward. So we started construction in 2006 of the Animal Specialty Center in Yonkers, and we got this massive loan. It was, of course, before the banking crisis, so they're like, you're a veterinarian? You have a tiny little thing of collateral? We will loan you all this money for a brand new project.
Wow.
It was great. I mean, it got me started, so I'm all thankful for that. So anyway, we were well into the middle of almost close to 3/4 of construction done by like late 2007, when the financial crisis started happening.
Right.
So the banks, they're like, you guys got to put in $1 million. And we're like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what $1 million is.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, you got to find investors or something. And our investor didn't want to put any more money in. He was also concerned about the economy. Went to some other friends who were at big specialty hospitals, and they're like, no, look at the economy, and oh my God, I can't believe you guys spent this much on building this thing.
Wow.
So it was either go bankrupt or get a corporate partner. And it's funny. I always tell the story over and over. It's the same story, and it's so true. If it was only me, I would have gone bankrupt and just waited the 7 years for the bankruptcy to get off my credit report and
Right.
Yeah.
started over. But all my friends had moved back to the area. We'd already hired like 50 people. We're like literally on staff already. Another not so smart thing.
These are all the things you learn early in your business career.
Yeah.
So
I
much
guess.
capital load.
And you've got to bring people on early, but you don't have to bring that many people on early. And it's just.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, we opened in January of 2008. So we got a corporate partner. And Rick, Dr. Joseph, thought I was going to tank it because we had all the paperwork he had signed, and I sort of disappeared for a week. I went everywhere trying to beg, borrow, and I would have stole, but I didn't have any options, any opportunity to do that, to be able to come up with it, so we didn't have to do that. But we did. And I told him from the beginning that as soon as I pay this off, or we pay the majority of this monstrous loan down, because we were minority partners, then a tiny fraction, that I was going to leave. And personally, everybody thought I was crazy because I was doing so well financially, but it was just, in my opinion, again, terrible for the staff. There was terrible for animals. Not terrible. Those are harsh terms, but not as ideal as it could be, at least in my perspective. So in 2016, and I was also part of a hospital in Long Island too, in the midst of that. It's another part of the story, but I'll try and I don't want to just talk the whole hour on I'll make it brief. No, I won't make it brief, but I'll make it briefer than I could.
Briefer. Yeah.
So anyway, bottom line is I sold my part in 2016, and in the other hospital he sold in 2017. And I invested every single dime into Guardian, and we opened in March of 18. So we could have control on who we help and how well we take care of our employees. And nothing's ever perfect, I tell you. It was my famous story is no place is going to be perfect, but it gives you the opportunity to focus on, in my mind, what's important. And what's important is helping animals, helping the employees. And another, for example, is always whenever you wanted a piece of equipment, in general, a lot of corporate practices like, well, this has to pay for itself. And again, I'm not ignoring that we have financial responsibilities, but it always should have started with, is this better for the patient? And then start there. For example, I will take it back. 2008, we were the first specialty hospital on the East Coast from the Mississippi East to have stereotactic radiosurgery, which is just focused radiation to boil it down. The only other in the time that had it on site was Colorado State at the vet school. So we didn't actually make a lot of money off this stereotactic radiation, but it was so much better for animals. Now there's hundreds of sites around the country that do this. So for the first 4, 5, 6 years, we had people bring their dogs and cats and goat and other kinds of weird things from every single state east of the Mississippi, eastern provinces of Canada. We even had a man fly his cat in from Hong Kong to get treated, picked it up at JFK.
That's wow.
Brought it, treated it, put it back on the plane, shipped it back there. But the example was, and we had already got in that deal with that company before corporate had became involved with us, because they would have never, ever done that, because it was not as hugely profitable, but it was better for the animals. So that's another thing that I feel like we have control over. So we opened Guardian in March of 2018. 10 years after I opened the first one, and we've been growing and helping animals and people ever since.
Incredible.
I love that helping animals and the people is in there, like, because the people are a part of why the animals are even here, you know. So it's like, without, and that includes staff members and the client themselves, not just the patient. It's like, if the client doesn't love pets or doesn't have somewhere to bring their pets that they trust, then it doesn't work. And if the pet and if the people that work here don't want to work here, then it doesn't work. So the people are equally as important as the pet
also,
is.
the hospital isn't just the building, as impressive as the building might be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The hospital is the people that function inside the building.
Yeah.
And yeah, what I try and impress on everybody, and everybody understands this when it's their pet or their friend's pet or their mother's pet or their cousin's pet, is that you always have to realize that that animal in general is touching multiple, if not dozens, if not hundreds of people's lives.
Right.
And
it's not just the owner.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
the owner's
Just
friends.
the
It's
owner.
the owner's family. It's the the cousins and the nephews and the
Even
nieces.
here, I can't tell you how many people checked in on Luna when we figured out she has Lyme.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh my God, is she okay?
Yeah, the impact is sometimes you don't realize it until you step back and think about it, like a lot of things in life. But it really is impactful, and so it feels good. And we've expanded since then dramatically, as everybody knows. We see probably 40,000 patients a year now.
40,000.
There's 200 plus staff, if not bigger. We've expanded to other hospitals of helping animals. We have 2 private practices now. We have an emergency clinic. We have another probably
How many
2
total
plus.
are we at now? 4
We're
or
at
5?
4.
4.
We have 2 plus
I know
another
you told
emergency
me
clinics online.
recently that your hope is by year 10 to have like more than 10 hospitals, or
I mean, my thing is always growth. If we can help more employees, if we can help more other veterinarians be partners with us, if we can help more clients and their animals. It's just, that's what drives me, is just knowing that we can we can help people and we can help the animals, and that we have control to be able to do that. Like, for example, here we give all the rescues 50% discount. We've dealt with over 400 individual different rescues, and probably in the 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 animal, count number. I don't know the exact numbers.
Right, because they don't have money themselves, essentially.
Right,
Yeah,
they're raising money all the time, and some of these things are really complex. There's a way big difference between general practice, which is super important, and every general practice has different levels of what they can do, and then specialty medicine, where you have MRIs and CAT scans, and you're doing open chest surgery or brain surgery. Like, so it really, and these rescues are phenomenal, and people work tirelessly, and they want to try and save every animal as possible too. So it's almost like a collaboration.
Right.
And I was always told, you'll lose money if you do that, and maybe you do, like, to some degree. I personally don't think you do, but maybe you do a little bit. But
at the end of the day, when people say you're losing money, it's like, who's losing money? The guy at the top, or the top 20 people
Also, I
in the
think
business?
there's a difference between losing money and not making the maximum number you could have. I think there's an important difference.
Right,
that's
a
a
big
great
difference.
point. It truly is.
Yeah.
So I think that's one example of what it gives us the freedom to do. So yeah, growth is really focused on helping more people, whether it's owners, whether it's patients, whether it's employees, whether it's the veterinary profession. That's what I focus on.
So feels like a real, almost David and Goliath story when you talk about the effects of the private practice, or private equity, I should say, in the veterinary industry over the past decade or so. As you're talking about growing Guardian to be able to affect more positively different communities and save more pets, as many pets as possible, as is the mission, combating some of these negative effects you might be seeing from all of this, corporate takeover situations that we have maybe seen a reflection of in human medicine over the past decade already. What kinds of stuff do you think, we're looking at almost 7 years of Guardian, what in those 7 years have you seen new developments actually help you on this David and Goliath journey?
That's a really good question, and I guess one of my things that I try and do, or hope we do, is represent the veterinarians that know us, or hopefully after this will get more to know us, to have that courage or optimism that they can do it on their own, and that there may be alternates, ways of doing just as well long-term financially, then if they don't have to sell to corporate, or again, they can start their own practices, because we look at human medicine, and again, there's nothing's 100% bad and nothing's 100% good, but it's changed significantly over the years, and in human medicine, and if you look at satisfaction rates of medical doctors, a lot of times it's significantly decreased of when they had more autonomy. And in human medicine, obviously insurance plays a much bigger role than it does in veterinary medicine. But I just get encouraged constantly when I see new veterinarians set up new practices. There were actually 2 practices over the last 7 years that I was looking into purchasing. But as soon as I found out that, quote unquote, a friend or somebody I knew who was going to keep it private, I just backed off, because I was like, that's phenomenal. I want everybody to flourish and to grow and have the opportunities. So there's a lot. Corporate's changed its structure a lot, certainly. Where
Do you think that's because of the pressure of private coming up more?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of very smart people on the corporate side who have looked at what wasn't working and tried to speak to veterinarians. I'm probably getting way too serious on this. For example, they're like, oh, you can be part owner.
Mm-hmm.
And the question I always ask when they say that is, oh, great, that's wonderful, which profitability-wise, that's wonderful. But do I have control over my staff's salaries? And you get this glassy-eyed look from the corporate.
Well, of course not.
And
Why would you
they're
wanna
like, no, why would you want to be able
Uh-huh.
to do that? You have to be a veterinarian. You only want to be a veterinarian. What they don't tell those veterinarians is having good staff, consistent, with low turnover, is what makes your day easy. And
Right.
what makes your day hard is not enough staff and significant turnover. And when you, as the co-owner veterinarian, go, well, I'd give up 10% of my profit just so that I have consistent, better paid staff. And corporate goes, yeah, unfortunately, you know.
We don't care what you're
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Uh-huh.
And that's a lot of things that veterinarians don't have any idea to ask. Like, it's not in their wheelhouse. They're not trained in business, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think it's getting smarter in veterinary medicine. There's an organization, I was just at the national meeting, called the Veterinary Business Management Association, which is, you know, teaching veterinarians this type of thing. But so I got off on a little tangent there, but yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we've learned and seen where they've tried to move and shift on the corporate side, which again, I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm just saying, like,
But there's almost a pressure or a wave of that movement, it seems, throughout the industry, where it's like, oh, that's almost the easy option. At least that's how it's being
Correct.
presented.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
what they present it as.
For sure. Yeah. I think across the board in any industry, corporate always seems like the easier option. I mean, even in my small
That's
little
the sell.
business, it's like, sure, I could go just get a job and
Right.
and have benefits and have it, but then they have literal control over everything that I do, as opposed to, like, how can I choose to make more money or provide a better product or whatever. It's like, I just feel like in every industry, it's kind of, you know.
And it sounds like what you're saying in your experience is that lately there's more people, more vets like you, who are willing to like kind of pick up the mantle and do what's best for the pets, do what's best for the industry, instead of just primarily, okay, what's the easiest way to make my dollar?
Yeah.
Right, and I think this is just a prediction. I have no real date on this. It's just my inside feeling that pet insurance is phenomenal. It helps a lot of people that couldn't afford to do even basic things for their animals or moderate things for animals, especially in specialty medicine when it does cost a lot. Everybody wants to know why it costs a lot, and I have a funny joke I always ask, why didn't you take it at 2 a.m. to your veterinarian? They're like, well, he's not open, she's not open. I'm like, why aren't they open? Oh, it costs too much to stay open all night. So we get it. Veterinary medicine is not cheap. Everybody in the world wants to say that we want a living wage for employees. Everybody should have a living wage and I'm being a little cynical, until we have to pay for it,
Yeah.
whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's at the mechanic, whether
Right,
that's
right.
at the
Right.
photographer, whatever it is. So anyway, where I'm going with this is, where am I going? I was on my usual track, but I totally forgot what my track was. Corporate. Oh shoot, guys! You have to cut this part. We're gonna have to take a break and get me back on track. Where I was, where I was going with that insurance is really beneficial. If my prediction, again, no data, is that if and when veterinary medicine gets to be a majority, if not exclusively, full insurance,
Uh-huh.
is when the real onslaught of corporate medicine will impact everything, and then it'll just degrade like it did in human medicine
Right.
on that side.
Because the thing with the insurance is it doesn't affect the cost of the actual medicine. All it affects is the payout per the client. So it doesn't matter how much this thing will cost. It's just a matter of how much we're covering of that thing that costs. So on the other end, the cost can just keep going up as much as it wants.
Right, and also we'll eventually run into denials for things eventually, or
I mean, that already happens.
right, or the squeeze of, you know, this is what again hurt the human side. Why they have to see so many patients. Which, hey, we want to help humans, I'm sure. You know, I'm not saying medical doctors don't, but it's like they get such small reimbursements that this is a tug and war of economics, where, you know, for them to make a quote-unquote living wage and be able to pay all the staff that, they have to see so many more because the reimbursement is so little, and it's this whole conundrum that's just like, it's a big mess. So on the veterinary side, we aren't into that big mess yet. But so going back to why I'm even talking about this is, yeah, we still have opportunities to veterinarians to open their own practices and do their own thing. And this will probably be decades and decades in the future where we still, but it's really it's got its pluses and minuses. Obviously, pet insurance, which again I'm all for. I think it is super helpful.
Yeah, it's funny because I have so many friends with pets, and I'm always like, "Do you have pet insurance?" And they're like, "I had it, but I was paying for it for years for no reason. Like nothing ever happens." And then immediately, 6 months after they say that, their pet needs to get an open chest surgery, and it's a $10,000 surgery. Right. And I'm like, that one time is enough for you to have the pet insurance, like that you pay, even if it's $100 a month, like.
It's
that would have
like,
saved you all that money.
It's like car insurance.
Yeah.
You know, until you smash into that guy or that guy smashes into you by accident, you know, you just throw the money away. But you're not really. It's an investment.
Yeah.
And, so.
Well, what would you say now, you know, we're 3 years from right? March is 7 years?
Yeah.
7 years in March.
What would you say for the 10-year mark is your goal? I mean, I guess not just for here, but like all of the hospitals.
No, my goal, like I said before, is just getting the word out, helping more people. For example, now we have, as you guys know, we have ambassadors at, you know, I think at 10 or 12 vet schools right now. So students who are carrying the torch, preaching the word of trying to be independent. And I hope my goal would be, we have it in every single vet school in the country, that we just continue to help the profession, that we help to train veterinarians. We have internships and residencies. That's when we have vet students come through here from all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah,
all over the world.
I get so much pride from that. We have veterinarians from all over the world. We have veterinarians in the hospital, or you guys know, are originally from Poland, Bulgaria. We have Spain. Like it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I think that just feels good to help people grow in their, you know, profession and see them go out there and be part of it. Like all my residents that I've trained over the years are around the country doing great jobs. So to me, it's just continuing to help animals, push the profession, give alternatives, talk to them, you know, and learn. And for me, I try and learn every day. Try and grow and learn.